All right, let's get right into it. Nigeria's central bank just did a complete 180 on a hugely controversial policy. And honestly, it's causing chaos. We're talking about the country's war on cash, a decision that some say is just pouring fuel on a fire that's already raging.
This line from our source material really just hits you, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the feeling on the ground that this isn't just some minor policy adjustment, this is seen as something that could be incredibly destructive. So that's the million-dollar question, or I guess the million naira question. For years, they've been pushing, sometimes really painfully, to get Nigeria to go cashless. And then all of a sudden, they slammed the brakes and threw the whole thing in reverse. So what did they actually do? Well, they jacked up the weekly cash withdrawal limits in a huge way. We're talking 500,000 naira for you and me, and a whopping 5 million for businesses. After years of tightening the tap on cash, they basically just blew the floodgates wide open. But here's the thing, to really get why this is such a massive deal, you have to understand this isn't a new fight. Nigeria's been on this chaotic, up and down policy roller coaster for over a decade. Let's take a quick look at the timeline to see how we even got here.
You can just see the whiplash here, right? It all starts back in 2012 with a pretty clear mission. And for a while, it seems to work. Digital payments take off. But then you get to 2022, and this period of Naira redesign madness. They slashed limits so severely it caused absolute chaos for everyday people. But it also had this unintended side effect, a noticeable drop in crime. And now, a complete U-turn, opening those cash floodgates right back up.
And this gets us to the absolute core of the argument from our source material. The idea that in Nigeria, physical cash isn't just a way to buy things. It's the essential ingredient, the fuel for some of the country's deepest, most dangerous crises. Rocket fuel. That's a powerful way to put it. It frames cash not as this neutral thing, but as something that actively makes bad situations worse, something that accelerates crime and corruption. So how exactly does that work?
Well, it really all comes down to one thing: anonymity. I mean, think about it. Kidnappers can't exactly ask you to wire a ransom, right? That low-level corruption at police roadblocks, that runs on small, untraceable bills. And then you have the big stuff, those infamous gonna-must-go bags, literally stuffed with cash to bribe officials. It all works because there's no digital trail.
And look, this isn't just a theory. There's real-world data to back this up. During that period in early 2023, when cash was incredibly hard to find, what happened? Kidnapping for ransom, one of the country's most terrifying problems, actually went down. Take away the rocket fuel, and the rocket has trouble taking off. Okay, but it's not that simple. Because that same policy that helped cut down on crime, it also caused immense, widespread suffering for ordinary people. So it's really important we look at both sides of this.
So on one hand, yeah, there were clear wins. Digital payments absolutely exploded, and it got a lot harder to make counterfeit money. But the failures were just as big, and they hit the most vulnerable people the hardest. The network was so bad, people started calling point-of-sale machines points of suffering. Imagine you're a market trader in a village. You can't get paid, you can't give change, your entire livelihood just grinds to a halt. While the goal might have been noble, the execution was, for many, a nightmare. This quote just nails the problem perfectly, doesn't it? You can't force a massive societal shift without building the foundation first. The policy crashed and burned for so many people because the basic infrastructure, things like reliable internet, steady power, and accessible tech, just wasn't there for everyone. So, if the last attempt was too brutal, and just giving up and flooding the country with cash as a surrender, what's the solution? Well, the source actually lays out a pretty smart 5-step plan for a better way forward. This whole plan is about finding a balance. So first, you bring the cash limits back down, but to a reasonable level. Then, you make it a little bit painful to hoard huge amounts of cash by adding a fee. But here's the brilliant part. You actually fix the infrastructure problem. You help fund solar-powered and even offline payment systems for rural areas. You make going digital the cheaper, easier choice for everybody. And then, you use the digital trail that creates to actually go after the bad guys. And listen, this isn't some pipe dream. Other countries have already figured this out. You've got India's incredible UPI system, Kenya's M-Pesa, which totally changed the game there. These are famous examples of how, when you plan it right, a digital economy can lift everyone up. The roadmap is already there. And that brings us right back to the central point. This new policy of jacking up the cash limits? From this perspective, it's not a strategy, it's giving up.
It's a retreat from the hard but necessary work of cutting off the financial supply line that fuels so much corruption and crime. So in the end, we're left with this one critical question. Is Nigeria's future in the swipe of a card and the tap of a phone, with all the transparency and the challenges that come with it? Or is it in stuffing those Ghana must-go bags with untraceable cash, sticking with a system that many feel is at the root of the country's biggest problems? The path they choose now won't just decide how people buy things. It could very well define the nation's security and its future for years to come.